The man handed the knife to his daughter, signal him to dissect the wild deer. Just as the girl was doing it, his subordinate's fur has turned into human heads. Meanwhile, Hobbs' daughter Abigail also woke up from her coma. So everything just now was a nightmare for him. After receiving the message, Abigail's special psychological consultant Minor found Will as soon as possible. I want him to go talk to Abigail, because Jack always believed that Abigail was involved in his father Hobbs' serial kidnapping, but Will considered that although he saved him himself, after all, he personally killed his father. Words reveal endless sympathy for Abigail. To avoid stimulating Abigail again, the two agreed that Minor would come forward and talk to Abigail. I hoped to obtain some relevant information from him. But what Minor didn't expect was, Abigail was almost killed by his father, and at the same time losing both parents, and he seemed unusually calm, and he has decided to sell his father's house, providing for oneself to attend university, and also buy yourself a small apartment. Abigail's calmness and composure surprised Minor. After returning, Minor told Jack and Hannibal about Abigail's situation. He believes that a normal person, who has suffered major trauma at home and psychologically, I shouldn't have been so calm. Abigail is the only informant in the disappearance case. Very just participants, but he seems to be deliberately concealing it. It also exudes some emotions perfectly, give people the illusion that they want to obtain information. Even he has the ability to manipulate the situation. Hannibal, who has been quietly listening, seems to be calculating something. He believes that Abigail's performance may be a post-traumatic stress response, and Jack's suspicion of Abigail deepened as a result. So he decided to have Hannibal and will go talk to Abigail together. Subsequently, Will and Hannibal rushed to the hospital together. Unexpectedly, the tabloid reporter also saw Will and Hannibal here. He can only leave in anger. When facing Will and Hannibal, Abigail is not as calm and composed as facing Minor, but rather behave pitifully, heartbroken. In exchange, it was naturally Will's shudder and warmth. After the two of them come out, the tabloid reporter has been waiting for Will at the door. In conversation, the tabloid reporter intentionally angered Will, let him say some extreme words. After returning, he posted Will's radical remarks online. Then we found another victim's brother, Han now, and tell him to kill his sister. The killer's daughter woke up, and he said some words to add fuel to the fire, so he suspected that Abigail had deceived his sister. More vengeful. Meanwhile, Will was also educated by Jack for his extreme remarks. At the same time they discussed taking Abigail home for recuperation. I want to see his performance on returning to the crime scene. And Hannibal remained silent all along, but his brain seems to be running at full speed. After they brought Abigail home, watching the sign of the ogre written on the door, Abigail entered the house with a sad face on his face. Will told him the story of the incident, and tell him, before they come, his father received a mysterious phone call. That's the reason why he urgently wants to kill your mother and daughter. But the phone number is blocked, so there's no way to trace him, and ask Abigail if he knows who called his father. But Abigail said he was not aware, and Hannibal was still there with peace of mind, abnormal calm. Subsequently, a few people started flipping through some items. I hope to find some clues, but there's still nothing to be gained. At this point, Abigail suddenly proposed, you can simulate crime through role-playing. After having Will play his father, Minor plays his mother, and Hannibal played the person who called his father. At this moment, Hannibal and Abigail exchanged a glance. The expression also underwent a subtle change. Meanwhile, he also has a different perspective on Abigail from ordinary people, but this suggestion was rejected by Minor. He was worried that Abigail would be overly stimulated as a result. Subsequently, Abigail representation. Those girls may never be found, because his father respects every part of them. My father once made glue from the bones of wild deer, and the fate of those girls can also be imagined. Just then, Abigail's friend Mary suddenly visits. He heard that Abigail came back. I came here specifically to talk to him. Unexpectedly, Huang Ma suddenly appeared with angry questioning. Why Abigail acts as an accomplice, inducing her sister and best friend Mary to defend Abigail. Pick up the stone. Smash yellow hair. Will and Hannibal rushed over when they heard the news. Upon seeing this, Huang Ma hurriedly left. Here, Hannibal discovered a stone stained with blood on the ground, silently covering the stones with leaves. To further investigate the case, the next day, they brought Abigail to Hobbs' cabin. Abigail seems to be stimulated, continuously repeating, what my father said. Every part needs to be respected, fully utilized, otherwise, it's just murder. Subsequently, he suddenly woke up with a start, asking the crowd with a frightened expression, show it a little bit. Here, this support. Abigail opened his mouth in horror, but in Hannibal's view, the expression on my face after learning that I might have eaten 7 people, just a piece of paper. This also gave Hannibal an inexplicable familiarity with him, but at this moment, a drop of blood dripped onto his forehead. They came to the second floor, discovering that Abigail's best friend Mary was brutally murdered, hanged on the antlers of deer. Seeing this scene, Abigail was finally scared, and screamed like an ordinary person. Subsequently, Will found some bloodstains from Mary's mouth, but what puzzled him was, why did the killer leave evidence? At this point, Hannibal said on the side, the killer is likely to have been provoked, and thus killed Mary. His next goal is likely to be Abigail, so Jack arranged for Hannibal to take Abigail out of here as soon as possible. He just sent Abigail home. Mary's mother rushed over and cursed. says Abigail killed his daughter. Stimulated Abigail inside the house, holding onto the cushion left by my father and sobbing constantly. He remembered what his father had said, when not wasting any part. Suddenly curious about the cushion in my arms, I want to know what's inside the cushion. After cutting with a knife, immediately made his spine cool. The cushion is actually filled with human hair. Just then, Huang Mao came over again. He approached Abigail on one side, while desperately explaining, Mary didn't kill herself. Not yet out of shock, Abigail got up and ran. Huang Mao chased after him and grabbed him. Want to explain clearly? Unexpectedly, the extremely nervous Abigail stabbed Huang Mao with a knife. At this moment, Minor came into the house to search for Abigail. Hannibal was the first to discover anomalies. In order to prevent Minor from discovering Hannibal while he was not on guard, knocked him into the wall with one hand. Fainted. After seeing Hannibal, Abigail explained that he was right of self-defense. But when Hannibal saw the wound, a calm expression. This knife is impartial. Median heart. This is no longer right of self-defense, but slaughter. Hannibal continues to pose a crisis to Abigail. If someone else finds out, I'll definitely think he's an accomplice to his father. Meanwhile, Hannibal said he could help him gamble on his career and the danger of his life, help him hide the body, vanish forever, or he can turn himself in for legal judgment. Han Baigai's face was filled with fear, caught in a strong inner struggle. Soon, Minor also woke up, but he only remembers being attacked from behind. From yesterday's appearance of Huang Mao to Mary's death, Jack locked his target on Huang Mao, because the blood stains in Mary's mouth are just yellow hair, and Huang Mao in retaliation for Abigail, sneaking in again. After Minor entered the house, Huang Mao worried about exposure. I had to knock Minor unconscious and escape the scene. Logically, although it makes sense, but Will always felt that there was a problem with which link, but I can't be specific about it. The screen shifts to Hannibal and Abigail's side. Obviously Abigail has accepted Hannibal's help, but Abigail also realized that it was Hannibal who called his father. Hannibal did not deny. He still calmly told Abigail, "That's just a very ordinary phone call. I was just trying to confirm if Hobbs was at home." At this point, two people with four eyes facing each other, tacit understanding. We have reached a consensus within ourselves, and mutually agreed upon, help the other party keep a secret, form an alliance.